and welcome to my channel. I'm Bunny or Gun Bunny, and today we are talking about something that's pretty integral to my channel and my experience through firearms in general. Now, you may have heard of InRange TV's Brutality competitions through just being in the gun community, watching InRange TV or other gun tubers, watching my videos being there, or have wondered about it seeing some of the posters in my background or the patches in my background. InRange TV's Brutality was kind of the start of my journey through guns in the first place. These competitions have been going on since 2009, which is way before I even started shooting, about a year ago. But the whole reason I actually picked up a gun in the first place is kind of because of Brutality. Now, the first time I ever touched a gun was actually when I was hanging out with my mentor, and he happened to be on his way to one of these competitions. And so therefore had a gun with him and showed it to me because I was curious. So yeah, the first time I ever touched a gun was because of Brutality, coincidentally. Not only that, but the entire reason I got deeper into shooting besides, oh, I would like to go to the range, this is interesting, was because of Brutality. Now, I had somewhat of an interest in it. I was kind of curious about it. You know, I was becoming friends with my mentor and I was like, yeah, I'll try this. This is interesting, but it's not really gonna be my thing, right? Like, it's just something that it's good to try. Now, we had planned for me to go with him to Brutality as I love cosplay and I was looking for more, you know, places to make friends in a place that were, you know, people who were my vibe and had good values, etc. And my mentor really liked going to Brutalities, but thought it would be fun to bring somebody with him as a friend and as a friend slash gun valet, as I like to call it, as well as to film his runs that he looks like, so that he could, as well as to film his runs. He likes to film them to look back at them and see how we can improve in the future. I thought it would be really fun as I had newly started off on my personal journey through adulthood and kind of left a lot of my old life behind, needing to find new communities and try new experiences. My original plan was to just go purely as gun caddy. This first Brutality I would be attending was actually CQB Handgun Brutality 2024. Now, for months and months ahead of time, I had maintained the idea that I would be going in cosplay, though it was a very, very budget cosplay, much more budget than the budget cosplays I have now. And as I had very little time to work on it as well, I have actually remade the first cosplay I ever wore to Brutality. Recently, it is my cowgirl action shooting or saloon girl slash cowgirl shooting cosplay, or I guess the undergarment parts of it, which is what it was really inspired by for my saloon whore cosplay slash historical recreation. That is the first one. It was supposed to match his cowboy action shooting outfit. Or his cowboy shooting outfit, I guess. Not really cowboy action, but yes. I had maintained that I would gun caddy, and maybe, just maybe in the future, I would try competing at one. But the more I was, you know, brought to the range, and the more videos about Brutality I watched, the more I got into it. I think maybe 3 months out from CQB, /Handgun Brutality 2024, I decided, fine, I'll do one day. I had gone to the range quite a few more times and was like, okay, I kind of like this. Again, I came from literally having heard the word gun, basically from someone with the knowledge of being not exposed to guns at all. Like, you know, I heard enough in popular culture, but not enough to recognize one gun from another, or know the difference between a shotgun and a rifle. I didn't know really what rifling was, or anything. So I've come a long way from that. But, you know, I really was very, very new to all this. And thankfully my mentor was willing to, you know, become my mentor and hold my hand through all of this. But it was still really nerve-wracking. I had basically only ever shot a gun the few times I'd gone to the range. I fell in love with the Banshee, which, as if you've seen my first video from the first Brutality I ever went to, it didn't work, and I had to switch to now the Glockenstock, which is kind of become my race gun slash my obsession is stocked pistols.
stovepipe.
Yep.
There you go.
Do you have more mags than that?
Huh?
Do you have more mags than that?
Oh, I got a lot of mags. You're not in battery.
Oh, fuck.
10 7s,
Just
4 8s,
rack it.
Yeah,
one of the stages is.
Nope.
Nope. Alright, it's not
We're gonna stop.
Yeah, I had decided that. Oh, yeah. So going back to, I decided to cup tea after I'd, fall in love with the Banshee and watching a few more in-range TV videos. One that really convinced me was Carl's video on the medieval handgun, which is also the first gun I ever bought because of that video. As a huge history nerd, like huge, I spend my free time watching historical dramas, reading. I spend a lot of my free time just researching history, just casually. I especially love fashion history. I would say if you ask me about a date of something, I would be like, I don't know. But if you ask me when the late second bustle period was, I can tell you the exact dates. But I can also tell you details about this stuff. I've worked in living history museums. I love less about, the bigger dates and events and such, or I guess conventional things you think of when someone says they like history, and more the anthropological side of how and why someone did something in their daily life, right? Or how and why they dressed. I love dress history specifically, but daily life is also important, especially to me in learning about this stuff, and as well as social practices. I really love learning, especially like, for example, about the flapper movement and how it was very pro-sexuality and breaking free of all these norms that had been, part of this society for so long. So watching Carl shoot something, the medieval handgun, made me really excited, and I was like, oh, okay, I like gun history too. And so have now gone on my journey to, obsess and nerd over every, historical gun, and will also now have to have a cosplay for every gun I shoot that must be as historically accurate as I can make it. As someone who loves cosplay, Brutalities also drew me in because my mentor said, I cosplay here. A lot of people go and they LARP, to varying degrees. People will use accurate guns. People will just cosplay something they think is cool. But some people don't. People will go in full gamer outfits, and I thought it was really nice. To me, it sounded like a more fun version of Comic-Con or something. For me, I love going to conventions, but I often kind of get bored if there's not enough panels or activities that I really like, because yes, it's an excuse to go meet like-minded people and dress up in cosplay and show off your cosplay, but at a certain point there's not it's a lot of socializing and not enough, structured activity for me. Where Brutality, I was like, oh, okay, so it's kind of like a place where I can go and cosplay and there's like-minded people. Not everyone's in cosplay, but there's an actual structured activity that we're doing. This was the mindset I had going into Brutality, which tells you how little I had experienced in this world of guns. The only other person I'd ever met that has shot a gun was my mentor, or that I knew of that was my mentor, besides maybe, my friend who, introduced us. But I really went into this not with misconceptions, but not with the idea of, oh yeah, a year from now I will be opening a gun shop. I will be opening a gun shop, have a gun channel on YouTube, and become obsessed with learning about guns and wanting to collect them. It's a slippery slope, folks. And Brutality was the gateway drug. I went to my first Brutality very nervous. First stage, first shot, my gun jammed. The RO, which I had asked my mentor about every piece of information he could give me on the way there, who is basically the person running the clock, and making sure that, you're being safe and also, hitting all the targets and kind of leading you through the stage as you go through. Basically the supervisor of the entire stage, making sure everyone follows rules. But yes, the RO was very nice to me. I had watched all of the stages the day before because I'd gone through, my mentor was doing 2 days, and so I went through the first day. You can see me in this Lindor outfit. I tried on the Tin Man outfit that another competitor had used. So I'd kind of known what the stages were going to be like. I was very surprised. I'd watched videos on it and I had heard a lot of stories from my mentor, but I still I don't think fully mentally prepared for, oh, this is like an action movie or a video game that you just get to do in real life. I don't know if I expected it to be harder or easier than it was. I think I just didn't have any expectations on level because I had never experienced anything even remotely close to it before. So how could I quantify that? But I was extremely nervous, and so when my gun jammed on the first stage, on my first shot, I was really nervous. I've never been the most confident person, though that's something I've been definitely working on a lot, but especially in newer situations like Brutality, I was this young alt girl dressed like a demon, who had barely ever shot a gun before, showing up to this competition where most of the people, were generally a decade older than me, and, a lot of them were masculine or male presenting, and so I was very all of these people had experience and seemed to very much know what they were doing and whatever, and I was like, okay, so I don't know how I fit in here. And the RO was very nice to me, didn't treat me like an idiot when I did not know the terminology for stovepiping, and was very happy to help me and let me to redo the stage with my backup gun. I went through the rest of that competition with the personal goal of getting through the competition. I finished that competition asking if I could do another run. I wanted to do another run. Sadly, I wasn't able to because they were all pre-booked, or I think it was the last day or something. But I said, I want to go to every Brutality now after this. And this wasn't because I did well. In fact, I think I parred out on every single stage. But it was because I had fun. And I'm not a very competitive person. But I enjoyed the competition a lot. I asked to do another stage. That Brutality was also the first time I ever interacted with Carl or Russell from InRange TV and some of the other people that are lovely that, are assets / help run the competition / are in charge of them. And I immediately felt very welcomed and very accepted, even being, for me, what felt like, not at all prepared, someone with no knowledge whatsoever. I think thankfully I had my mentor who was the opposite, who was a seasoned, brutalist who had, years and years of experience in all of these types of things, who's a gunsmith and actually knows what they're talking about. I met some of the great people who are, staples of the competition, like Juan, who is a gamer, and, is always in, the top, of either winning or in the top 3 of the competition. We were squatted together. I met a few other people, and I think what happened that competition was I realized that guns were going to be a big part of my life. Not only did I realize that guns were going to be a big part of my life, I realized and kind of learned that I don't have to make guns a part of my life in a way that looks normal or even makes sense to somebody else. And if you watch my channel a lot, you know what I'm talking about. I can love guns in a very me way. I can still be myself through my love of guns and show myself through my love of guns and in the way that I love them. So I just have my notes here because I want to touch on a few different things. I'm going to touch on the community, the divisions and range of diversity, and then, some difference about experience levels. So first, touching on the community. I'm going to get a piece of candy because I'm tired. You're really good. Okay, back from the intermission to let you know. You're wondering why I'm talking about this competition right now in the middle of winter when there hasn't been one and it isn't one for a while. Because it's winter. The range is freezing out. There are no competitions. There's no brutality competitions, and I miss it. Not saying I want to do brutality in the middle of winter. I just want winter to not be a thing anymore. Winter sucks. It makes it hard for me to go to the range. It makes it hard for me to dress how I like and makes me feel comfortable and confident. And it also means that I can't go bust my ass trying to drag things twice my size and basically the same weight as me before missing a bunch of targets. Now that being said, just like InRange TV, the YouTube channel that runs brutality competitions, I don't do advertisement. I don't do ads for this. Just like InRange TV, I don't use YouTube ads I don't get money from YouTube. I don't get money from YouTube or sponsorships to run my channel. I am completely crowdfunded by my Patreon or my PO box or my Amazon wish lists, I guess, if you want to check those out. So if you want to support my channel or if you want to support my channel at all, please consider, if you want to support my channel at all or want even extra content, please consider checking those out. There will be a link in the description and on screen now, as well as my PO box. I also have different social medias where I post other things to varying degrees, depending. In the winter, probably less because because winter sucks. But yeah, I hope you enjoy today. Also, please consider going to go support InRange TV and Brutality in general. They're really amazing, and I will talk about more by That's Amazing right now. One of the things that drew me to the competitions, besides figuring out that I had a love of guns and being a bit of an adrenaline junkie, were the community. Now, I mentioned earlier that I was pretty much one of the youngest and only femme-presenting people there. And yes, that's true, but again, that was in my squad, and every brutality is different. What I didn't mention is that the community is actually such a vast and diverse place, especially when you experience more of it. My first impression was a little bit clouded by fear and also just my squad, but as I went to more competitions, learned more about the community through the Discord and just in general, and just kind of came out of my shell in terms of socializing and talking to people and making friends, I learned that the people around me were amazing. Being somebody who is, well, I mean, this is how I dress, but who is, younger, but also femme, I'm queer, disabled, autistic, generally neurodivergent, alt or goth, and a lot of alt or goth, kinky, with pretty strong beliefs on, what is right and pretty strong beliefs that, I guess have some people clutching their pearls, like that sex work is real work, and that me expressing myself, or me being disabled or being queer or anybody else being any of those things is complete and should be supported. Now, as I learned more about the community, I've really found and have been able to connect with people, even if they don't identify exactly the same way as me. I don't expect them to, but I found some really accepting people, but also a great community of people, quite a mix of and friendliness in terms of just, respecting each other. Now that my first impressions had worn off, I kind of learned something interesting. Now, going into this, I had kind of the misconception or presumption that all of the people who are into guns or the gun community in general were basically what I had been taught as a kid, which were racist, homophobic, rednecks who were insane conspiracy theorists. And obviously, knowing my mentor, I knew that wasn't true. But, I, as a poly, queer, disabled, kinky, autistic, I guess that's under disabled, pro sex work / sex worker, nerd. I don't know. What other things do people hate about me? I'm very aware that not all communities are going to be accepting of somebody like me. I am very confidently myself. I don't really care. If you can see, if you've watched some of my videos, you know that I leave in sometimes when I mess up in editing, mess up talking because I can't talk normally sometimes because that's how schmat. There's an example. There we go. You know, this channel is about, that's no shade to people who edit those things out. This channel is about me and my journey, and so I'm presenting me as naturally as I can. I'm presenting me as, you know, as much me as I can without trying to put on a persona or character, right? I dress how I want to dress, how I would normally dress, even if there wasn't a camera. And I mean, I script out some things just to keep my ideas, because otherwise my brain will wander. And I know that some people really like my stream of consciousness videos, but they can't be like 5 hours long of just me wandering from topic to topic. Not only would that get boring after a while, but you know, the editing would be a fucking nightmare. What was I talking about again? Oh, right, community. Not only have I met a very accepting community of all of the different identities, but some really amazing people. I've made some great friends from, you know, Carl and Russell, who run the competitions, In Range TV and Sinister Rifleman, to Deviant Olam, Ali, who helps run the competitions as well. Her Instagram is AC Battlesec, does amazing photography and also competes, and is really awesome as well. To many of the RO/other competitors who have, you know, been reoccurring, you know, people there, from people who I genuinely would love to become closer friends with when I am able to see them and get up brutalities. You know, these are people who I have just been able to be like, oh yeah, I'm a dominatrix. And they're like, oh, that's so cool, so is my friend. And most of my interactions telling people that, it goes more of like, oh, what's that? Or, oh, right? Like, I get a lot of comments about the way I dress or the way I behave, and I am very happy to be friendly about things, and I don't know if it's just me or the way that I am, but I'm very happy to kind of just explain it generally in ways that I just kind of assume that somebody doesn't know what they're talking, like they're genuinely curious or whatever, but like I do get hate and I do get shit, right? Like it's a thing. It's the internet and it's life, and people are not going to be very nice all of the time. But the one thing that I have found is that even at brutality competitions, right, like even at the one thing I have found is that my preconceptions about, you know, brutalities was, no, this is a very accepting place, right? Like not only are there, you know, Punisher stickers on someone's gun case, but there's a trans flag Punisher sticker. I was like, fucking hell, that's awesome. Like, I don't feel like I have to kind of hide or, you know, hide myself too. And like, I know that people will sometimes get comments of people in the background, or even me, of like, you know, people who don't present the way that, you know, they think that somebody should be, either in the way they dress or the way they look or act or whatever. Like, that's fucking... Anyway, brutality's always been very accepting about it. I've never really gotten anything but, you know, like, support, you know, people being like, oh, I love your cosplay, or I love this, whatever, at the competitions. Even when I fail and fall, fucking dragging, you know, Bubba, the dummy, and, you know, wipe out mud right into the ass right into the mud, people cheered me on. Even if I am in my squad and the person parring out on every stage, or, you know, completely wiping out at the end, people still cheer me on just as much as anybody else. No one makes me feel bad or stupid for not knowing something. Everyone is genuinely helpful if I'm struggling, or willing to answer questions, or being supportive. And that type of community is not only something that's just rare in, I think, competitive areas, but it's rare in just the world. You know, I think especially with the internet, there's so much hate. It's hard to find places that are genuinely just so accepting and supportive, you know? Like, I think, you know, and there's always, not only that, but not only have I experienced these competitions firsthand a couple of times, but I fell in love with it so much I decided to help out behind the scenes doing setup and even prop design. For example, the Block Horse Farms, or the Glock stage from Moonshine Brutality 2024, where, if you remember, where you know, you had to deal with horse semen, I was actually the person who designed the logos for Blockhouse Farms. I mean, my original logo was risque, but we decided maybe not, especially because we all know it's YouTube. But I was really amazing to look behind the scenes at the community. It is just a reflection of, you know, exactly what you experienced during the competition. People who are not only dedicated, but excited to be able to put in help to create these elaborate stages that are really fun and amazingly well thought out. I've been able to talk to the people who design the stages and write up the stage briefs about their process behind creating these stages. You know, we were talking once about like, oh, you know, this stage was specifically set up to mess up experienced shooters on their shooting pattern, but you know, and I was like, okay, I appreciate that because I had no trouble with that part. Because I'm not, you know, these stages are designed and well thought out and thought to present a unique and interesting and challenge for not only, you know, the average or shooter, but the experienced shooter, to make it something that's interesting, to make it so that, yeah, even if you're good and you've been shooting and you've been doing brutalities, you're still gonna be surprised by a specific stage. Not only that, but I personally am a sucker for theming. I love it. I would personally like to live in my own personal theme park. The idea of committing to the bit is possibly my favorite idea ever. I would like my apartment to look like a pirate ship. I love it. I love that Brutality does this type of thing, that they have theme stages and there are props and the idea is committing. I especially love the like the wasteland stage that Lead Cloud does at High Desert Brutality. It speaks to something deep in my soul. The love of, that's not my soul, that's my boob. My love and cherishment of theming and committing to the bit is so shown in Brutality that, oh my god, I fucking love it. Also, if you're wondering, this is a Brutality t-shirt. My corset belt is covering it a little bit, but it says Brutality. It's very cool. It says Enraged on the back. But yeah, I am obsessed with that part. Like, so much work goes into these and they come out so good every time. So much thought comes out of these, and, you know, watching and experiencing them is truly incredible. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, no one's going to be sitting there shouting, you know, it really feels like you bond with your squad the day of. And, you know, everybody is genuinely happy to be there. Everyone's genuinely supportive. There's no crazy, you know, fights. There's no crazy, you know, there's no crazy fascism, right? Like, as to quote Sinister Rifleman in response to Deviant Olim's video on a similar topic, the only I think Russell said the only fascist is me, but I make sure the competition runs, which is fair, and yes, it's true. Watching behind the scenes, I actually at Moonshine just was hanging out with Allie and Russell helping a little bit behind the scenes, and I was like, holy shit, this competition would not run otherwise. And, you know, Russell being very stoic and making sure everything actually gets done is possibly the only way anything would actually ever get done. So I'm very thankful for, you know, our great fascist leader, Russell. That's a joke. He's not actually a fascist, in case anyone can't pick up on my sarcasm. Yeah. Not only is the community extremely accepting and supportive, which you'll have to cut down all of this, is such a rant. It's very varied in, you know, shooter levels and experience. I usually tend to be probably I may not be the least experienced, but I may be somebody whose struggle bus is some of the most. I mean, it makes sense. I'm pretty disabled, and I'm pretty disabled, and I'm not the best at staying on top of my workout and dry fire routines. It's one of those things where life keeps getting in the way, and then I use the excuse that life gets in the way when I could really make time for it. When I could really, you know, let it get in the way of life. But, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, life gets in the way, and then, you know, I sit here and make excuses about life getting in the way when really I should be getting in the way of life, right? Yeah, life doesn't get in don't let life get in your way, you get in its way. I should make that a shirt, just me with a fucking gun, just be like, anyway, and that's telling you something as somebody who pretty much powers out every stage. I'm also not as strong as a lot of people, so that doesn't help. But the shooting experiences But if you're watching this and you're wondering, oh, okay, but like, I've only ever seen you do your runs, or Carl and Russell, who are like the complete opposite of, experience. These people are, in the top, of the competition. They're professionals. They've been doing this for years. I'm a professional in a very different circumstance. Or a very different meaning of the word, I guess. No, that's not really. I guess I'm a professional at this, and only in the fact that I record it and then I post it, and then that's how I make money for my job, not in the sense that like I'm good at it. And yeah, because you only see a lot of YouTubers do it who do well besides me, because most YouTubers who shoot guns are actually good at it. But that doesn't mean that normal people don't go. And if I'm probably like, struggle busting the most, and I admit that I'm not, the least experienced person there, if you've never gone, like, you're gonna do better than me. Or you're gonna do, spectacularly terrible, and you can join my club, right? And that's the thing, this is the type of competition and experience where if you're new and you're amateur, you can still have fun if you just care about the experience. But also if you're a professional and you've been doing this for years, you're very serious, you're gonna game this shit, you're still gonna be challenged. It's somehow the perfect mixture of it's hard enough for the best of the best, but it's still fun for people like me. And that is a very, very hard balance to find. And honestly, I props, for being able to figure that out, because that's, again, something that's really rare and hard to do, I'm gonna have another candy break. All right, I'm standing up because otherwise I'm gonna fall asleep. A 45-minute video that needs to be edited down to 20 minutes. Ah! I'm not even done filming yet. Crap. I apologize. Okay. So I just mentioned divisions, and that's the thing. So yes, you're split up into your squad, but there are actually different divisions. And you may have noticed that the patches behind me are some, examples of divisions that there have been. For example, Trooper, which I will never do again, where you basically, have certain allowances for what guns you can use, how many guns you can use, and what types, but also means that you not only have to carry all of the ammo, supplies, water, etc. that you need with you and on you, but you have to carry that and walk from stage to stage, which I decided to do that at high desert brutality. Because I'm smart. Yeah. Wasn't my best choice. Wasn't my best, well thought out thing. Not only did I do that, but I did that with a gun I never shot. The thing about the divisions is, yes, they morph a little bit every year and every competition, but generally they give you a wide range of different rules and challenges depending on what you want to do. Now, there's usually something, depending on the brutality, things will morph and change a little bit, because if there's a CQB style one, what you're gonna be able to do is a little bit different. For example, Partisan, which is the one which is one of the divisions I competed in last at Moonshine Brutality, and will generally be competing in as, my modern division, as I plan to do one modern, one historical, and possibly one cyberpunk going forward. Partisan lets me be able to use my What Would Stoner Do long gun, my What Would Stoner Do as my rifle, but also let me use my stocked pistol, my Glock and stock, as my handgun. This comes with the caveat of having to carry on me through stages a certain amount of things, such as a water, a knife, a certain amount of mags, etc. And that is the history of the compliance backpack. If you saw my inverse bandolier video, you know about the stupid fucking compliance backpack. I hated it so much, and now it's gone thanks to my inverse bandolier. But, that's generally, if you want to do modern guns, it's kind of similar to Trooper in that So generally for the modern guns ones, there are certain things that they make you do, certain restrictions on the guns, the optics, the tripods, or other accessories that you have to do, and also making it harder in certain ways by adding extra rules, like that you have to carry everything with you on stage or from stage to stage. In Partisan, you can drive from stage to stage if you want, but you still have to carry stuff with you on through the stage. And the rules change every so often as they update them and change them, so just be aware that like what I say now isn't necessarily, they adjust them as need be and as, they learn things and, etc. Or for example, there's Roaring Twenties, which is what I did last at Moonshine as my historical division, which if you know, a lot of people have started following me because of the flapper dress that I wore at a few brutalities. The first time I actually ever did it was at Woodland, and I was in, I think, Partisan again. I don't remember what I was in. Maybe I was in Amstand? I think I was in Amstand for Woodland. But anyway, basically, and that means you have to use guns, that are available in the 20s. Now my Thompson broke and I had to switch to what I would traditionally use cowboy action shooting guns, but thankfully because of the historical division, I was able to do that. Now, what I think is really, now there have been many, rules, there have been historical divisions and they have changed, and all these divisions change over time. For example, there's Deadeye, which is all about, cowboy guns, so anything before a certain year, you can have multiple guns. There are now posse divisions, as well as Cyberpunk, which is really cool, and I plan to compete in soon, which allows for 3D printed guns, but you can't use, AR-15s or something similar. I think that that's really cool. Basically, what Brutality does is it lets a bunch of people who may have very different interests in how they shoot guns go and compete, and they make it, each division has certain round counts or different challenges that within the same stage may change, right? Like a historical division may have less round counts for the same modern division because, they might only, they probably don't have mags. These are either tube fed or, a revolver. So it just makes sense. So it's not a complete like, oh, the historical divisions are just struggle busing to even finish the stage. They can still do the stage. This is all extremely well thought out, which I think is amazing. But it also lets people explore different things. As somebody who had not really that much interest in cowboy action shooting, after shooting the cowboy guns at Moonshine, I go up to Carl and I was like, oh, shit. Well, I'm going to do cowboy action shooting now. And as I know Carl loves this, we discussed it and talked about it now, and I've spent many, many hours making my accurate costume, and I will now soon be making a historical pistol pocket. Now, all of this is to say that what these let you do is not only be, grouped with people and squatted with people of different divisions, but also meet people and just go to a competition, experience things, and explore different interests. You could be shooting Cyberpunk one day and Deadeye the next. It also lets, also the divisions not only let you explore different guns or, different combinations than many other competitions, right? If you're going to a cowboy action shooting competition, you just got to shoot cowboy action, right? And there's certain rules about what guns, what types of guns, what round counts, etc. And yes, there are rules around that here, but there's more freedom when you get to choose your division on what you get to do and how creative you've got to be. If you're going to game it and you pick a division like service pistol, for example, you can only use a pistol the entire time, right? How can you, if you're going to game it, like what pistol are you going to use, right? Like how are you going to game using only a pistol? Or how are you going to game, only having a lever gun and a pump and a shotgun? It can create unique challenges within this, but it can also just let you do so many cool things, right? I love the idea of, I love cowboy action shooting. I love the idea of it. But it can also let you do some really cool, exciting things that make you feel like you're in an action movie with different guns. A lot of competitions wouldn't allow you to use 3D printed guns, or they're just one competition that lets you do one thing. This type of thing lets you not only do that, but there's just this competition not only lets you pick many different divisions with many different types of guns, but kind of in a really unique way that aren't just kind of conforming to, okay, we shoot in this type of competition, we shoot these types of guns, and this is the only way you can shoot these types of guns in competition, right? Like they're all under the idea of brutality, so you can shoot different things in these circumstances of brutality. If you really want to do, for example, like a Die Hard run. You want to use an MP5 and, you know, or an AUG for some weird reason they had an AUG. And you can get your hands on a P7, right? Like you could do a Die Hard run. I'm pretty sure you could do that in Cyberpunk. I think my mentor actually did a Die Hard run and got a rule made about wearing shoes, which makes sense, even though everyone would kill me because everyone already hates how little clothing I wear because they're like, you're gonna get yourself killed. And I'm like, I've had a tetanus shot, it's fine. Basically what I'm saying is it's a wild experience. It feels somewhere like, you know, it's a wild experience. It's both a very serious and demanding and hard competition while also being an extremely fun and supportive and at times goofy environment. It can be both at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. It can be a place where you can go in full cowboy getup and shoot historical guns or black powder, or it can be a place where you can go, you know, use your gamer shit and try to, you know, top the leaderboards. It's one of those things that's ever evolving and ever changing, but it seems to only ever be getting better. These competitions are held, you know, in different places across the country. I think across the country there are CQB and general formats. You know, there's mainstays have been Woodland and, you know, High Desert. There's now, I think, multiple CQB formats this year. I'm going to every single Brutality that has been announced already, and I am actually my mentors are rowing at High Desert, and I will be assisting him, coming back in my role, not as gun caddy, but I guess as, you know, RO butler or RO maid, and helping him design that stage. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I won't reveal what we're doing for our stage yet, but you know, I'm going to be having a lot of fun, and can't wait to see some of my friends again. I am even working with Easy Prints to hopefully actually 3D print a gun to possibly use at one of these competitions. Because this is somewhere I can actually go and use a 3D printed gun at competition. And there's it's not only like allowed and supported, there's an entire division where it's like one of the criteria is either has to be a 3D printed gun and an NFA item or an NFA item. That's what Cyberpunk is. Like, that's so cool to me, that it inspired me to 3D print my first gun. I was already interested in it, but I was like, no, now I need to do this to compete in Cyberpunk. And so I reached out to Yeezy Prints, who actually did this in a Brutality and made a whole video about it. Come on screen later. But that's the type of things it does, is it inspires people and it brings people together, it creates new friendships, and just in general creates an amazing experience and community that's super supportive. Like, you know, that's just super supportive and also super fun. Like, I look forward to these competitions every year. I've signed up for literally every single one. I look forward to these competitions throughout, you know, the time when there's not, which is why I'm making this video right now, because I miss it, right? Like, I cannot wait. I've been planning out what guns I'm going to be using, what cosplays I'm going to be doing. I've been, you know, talking to people who I like to see at Brutalities, being like, oh yeah, we should meet up, we should hang out. I've been planning the stage. I'm so happy to be like help my mentor fucking run it. You know, he's ROing, I think he's also ROing Woodland, which I need to figure out either how to drive or figure out somebody else who's competing the same day as I am and the same squad as me to drive me from stage to stage, because I am not troopering again. Fuck that shit. So to sum up basically what I've been trying to say, not only is this creates an accepting community, it is engaging and fun and challenging for people of all different levels and experiences. It is ever evolving and changing to always be interesting. It is a unique experience that you will not get anywhere else. It's immersive. It flows with creativity and acceptance. It is fucking awesome. I mean, who doesn't want to feel like they're in a fucking video game? Like, come on. I personally have been tainted against a lot of other competitions, as they all kind of feel a little bit boring now compared. Not that I won't go to other competitions, but Brutality has such, you know, excitement and intrigue that it really gets the blood pumping and the adrenaline running, and it really gets me and other people excited. It's why people keep coming back. It's why this is so big. It's why these, they have overflow days because they keep getting sold out. And it's why this channel exists. I wouldn't have fallen so in love with guns if I hadn't gone to Brutality and shot that Glockenstock after my first gun failed. People may love it for different reasons. I love it because of the reasons I mentioned. I love that my mentor, who is a million times more experienced than me, can go and shoot and still be challenged. And this is somebody who who often wins or is in the top 3 of the division that he chooses. I am somebody who is happy if I don't par out a stage, and we both feel good and challenged and enjoy it. I love I love cosplay, so does he. I love that I can dress up and I can really get into it. I love the community and the people. I love how supportive it is, and oh my god, I do not love that my bra's coming apart and it's poking me in the boob. This is not fun. I love that the people who like to game, I love that the gamers in the community are, able to take it seriously without ruining it for other people, and that the people who aren't gaming are able to have fun and not take it seriously without ruining it for the gamers. That's a really hard and rare thing to find. But I really love is the shower I get to take after a long day of competing in the mud and the grit and washing off, all the sweat and mud and dirt and possibly blood that has ended up, and lead, lots and lots of lead, that has ended up all over my body, because nothing feels better than hanging out with the people where I'm in an Airbnb with, talking about the runs we did, sharing a pizza, and, then passing out. That's one of the greatest feelings. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and please sign up for Brutalities if you haven't already. In the future, consider it. There's all over the country. There are many in many states. If there are still days that are open, yeah, go check them out. If not, check them out in the future. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Bye!